Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dice Commando YouTube channel. I'm Andrew, with you here as always. This is the Commando Cast, a video cast about all things Star Wars Destiny. This video and others like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. Please show your support with a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to get involved with the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There are many benefits to channel membership, including access to our Discord, exclusive deck tech and strategy videos, and the opportunity to help create channel content. I want to sincerely thank all our channel members, as I truly couldn't do this without your support. You guys rock. Go Commando.
Hello, Star Wars Destiny folks. Welcome back to Dice Commando and the Commando Cast. Interesting chat today. So I have Ryan, aka ThatWookieSmell, with me today, and we are talking setting up events and planning and all that, and what it would take to get people to actually come out and play Star Wars Destiny. All right, folks, so thanks for tuning in and joining us again today. How's it going, man?
It's going great.
Yes.
Going real good.
So basically the gist of today, or kind of the background today, I think what kind of spurred everything was we recently got the OP announcement from ARH that the cons and stuff they talked about for the IRL events have been canceled. Worlds is still kind of up in the air. I do want to use this opportunity to plug. There's been an announcement of an event in January in St. Louis at Miniature Market. So go check that out. I'll throw info into the video. But by and large, I think the impetus for this was events and scheduling one. And you had reached out and asked some questions about what that all would entail, with perhaps the motivation of doing one yourself. And so basically, I just wanted to kind of turn the floor over to you, and let's just have the discussion.
Yeah. So when I saw that specifically the one that was going to be, I believe, is at Adepticon in Chicago. It was in a suburb. We were planning or talking about seriously going to that, and then when I saw it was canceled, it just got me thinking, what would it take? Now, up front, I'll say I've never, other than here at home with the boys, I've never played in person at a gaming store or at an event, a tourney or anything like that. So I started thinking, like, what would it require? What is somebody, something a little bit larger than just something local? Like if somebody wanted to come from out of town or out of state and they were looking for something, what are they looking for? Like, what does the event look like? Because And I was talking a little bit to the 86, and then I had, wrote you. And basically, I have access to a building, and it has, we got tables, chairs, bathrooms, kitchen, but it's in a church. And it's an old school that's turned into, a church building. And I have a huge auditorium. I can fit hundreds of people in there. And so I was thinking, like, would people be interested in coming to a tourney, a Star Wars Destiny tourney, basically? And if I did something or hosted, would people be interested? Would somebody want to come from out of town to something like that? What would they want to see, for a weekend? If you were coming in for a weekend, would it be one day? So what I mean, and I guess that's to where to start is typically, what do these events look like? How long do they last?
Yeah.
Have you been to some?
Yeah, sure. So, and I won't speak specifically just to Star Wars Destiny, right? Because that's probably the better way to approach this, is from an events thing. I will say for Star Wars Destiny, we I drive up. I think I drove 4 hours once to go to a regional level event. But by and large, I think that's the distinction, is if you're having, if you would, what do you mean by local, right? Do you mean it's an hour away, it's 4 hours away? Do you have to travel overnight to it? I think that's kind of the barrier in my head, is if you have to travel overnight and get a hotel, it's no longer a local.
Right.
And then, of course, that means different things for different people, right? The Artificery guys, they used to have people from Seattle and come down and get a hotel room and stay the weekend, but that's because they were out doing other things too, right? So even though they could have come in. I'm probably not answering your question real well here, right? But if you want somebody to stay overnight, I think it has to be more than a one-day event.
Yeah. So when I say local, I'm talking about would be particularly like, on Tuesday night we go down to the game store and we're playing with the guys that live in Rockford where I live.
Okay.
And I'm wondering for something bigger than that, for let's just say regional, and then because I understand like flying in from some another state far away is quite a bit more money. But for a regional where you're driving and spending the night, what would somebody want to see? In that turning, because if it's, would they want it to be multiple days? Do they want to have like one day where we play a tourney and then maybe the night before you schedule some stuff, or not even schedule, but just have like an opportunity to hang, like we have a local brewery, you could rent a room out there and hang out, do stuff like and that's what I'm wondering when somebody goes to like in Chicago where they have the Adepticon. Obviously there's a huge convention going on, so there's a lot more stuff going on than just a Destiny tourney. So if somebody was coming in just for a Destiny tourney, what would they want to see?
Yeah, so let's say, and to the point of your church, I don't think venue matters as much. I mean, obviously, it would be great if there was a convention that was booths everywhere. I mean, obviously, but I don't think location. I don't think venue matters as much. But yeah, if you're coming in, let's say for the weekend, I think what's pretty typical for these is there'll be some sort of like, let's say it's a Saturday tourney, there'll be like a Friday night. It used to be like a Friday night draft or some sort of hangout or something like that, where it was basically, you'd meet, you'd play some games, then everyone goes to a bar afterwards. I mean, that's kind of the thing. And then the question of how many days the tournament lasts is certainly a matter of people, right? I mean, typically for the old regionals, it was that the top cut would be the second day. But that's, once you're pushing into more than 6 rounds of Swiss, generally is when people are kind of looking for a second day. So that's, pushing 60 plus people, right? So if you were running like a 30-person tournament, you could pretty easily bust out Swiss and then a top 8 all in the same day, I would think, right?
Yeah, that was one of my questions. So I don't, like where's the cutoff? I believe it's Norman is hosting a one in St. Louis, and that's like 6 hours for me. But I noticed it's at like noon on Saturday, and I was wondering like, oh man, if you get a lot of people, like, does that put the crimp on time? Like, how do you, I'm just trying to gauge, like, depending. Let's say you had 30 people, can you pull that off in a day and be able to do the tourney and then the top cut in one day?
I would say yes, because at 30, I know it's a weird distinction. 30 to 60s doesn't feel that different. But you have to, you have to remember you got to throw a lunch break in there, right? So at 16, so at 9, you're at 4. At 17, you're at 5 rounds, right? So all the way up to 32, or 30, up to 32, you're covered there, right? So 5 rounds would be, say you start at, now his is starting at noon, I get it, but say you start at, 10 in the morning or something like that. You mean for Destiny, you basically have, for competitive Destiny, especially in like a slow meta like we have right now, you pretty much have to budget 50 minutes per round by the time everybody gets to where they are, gets set up. So as a TO, you need to budget probably an hour just in your head and then know that you're going to, kind of under promise, over deliver.
Yeah.
So if you start at 10, you can get in 3 rounds, have like a late lunch break, 2 rounds, that puts you at 4 o'clock, and then your top 8s are best of 3 typically. So I mean, that puts you at 8 or 9 o'clock. I mean, it's a long day of Destiny, but it's doable in one day. But I think that's the difference is once you add in that one extra round, unless you're starting at like 9 a.m. or something like that, you're pushing, 9, 10 o'clock.
Right.
Because then you got to throw another break in there for top cut at some point, right? So I think that's generally why you do the second day. Now, in terms of Norman's, and I mean, I don't know exactly how he's going to approach it, but based on his fluctuating capacity, and I assume the store is going to kick him out at a certain point, he may just cap Swiss, and that's something you could do too, to say we're only going to play 5 rounds of Swiss no matter how many people show up. Just because that's a venue constraint. I mean, you may not have, I mean, I would assume you're not going to be able to use the church on Sunday. I would assume. I don't know, but.
Well, ours is a little different because we meet on Saturday nights. So I have. So basically what I could do is, and this is part of the reason why I'm asking, because I would think most people wouldn't want a long day on Sunday, obviously, because you got to get home.
Right.
Unless you're going to take Monday off. So, but it's Saturday evening. Like our service doesn't start till like 6:30, so I'd have to be out by like 4, but I could do a Saturday morning afternoon, and then we could be out and we could go. You could go hang out, you could go do stuff, and then like Sunday morning you could do Top Cut.
Sure.
If there was that enough people, that way people could come in on Friday, and then Saturday you could play. Go hang out. Talk. And I don't know. Do people like if people would like the idea of having another place to go hang out, like a brewery or something, someplace nice where you can get food and hang out and just chit chat and whatever. But so yeah, I mean, it would be a lot of fun to do something like that, I would imagine.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, in terms of I think that if your target is basically a Destiny weekend destination, right? I think that having something on Friday night would be the right way to go. I don't know what things start like. One of the biggest challenges we have in trying to plan for something like this with Destiny right now is like you could get 8 people that show up, and then you're totally screwed from like you're putting money down on things. Or you could have 40 people show up and not have anywhere to put them. So like it could go, especially in the Midwest, like the Midwest seems to be kind of the hotbed of Destiny in the US right now. It seems like you could have people show up in droves, but it could also be on Super Bowl weekend or something. Like, I mean, I know you wouldn't do that, but you know what I mean? Like there could be something going on and just nobody shows up. So to my point on scheduling something at night, like I think you as the TO want to do stuff minimally and then just kind of like, hey, we can meet up here, but I don't want to see you and the boys take a hit in the mouth because you put money down on a room that 8 people showed up for. You know what I mean? Like something like that. So
well, and that's why I was thinking like, because of everything that's going on and how it is, and because you don't know what you're going to get, if you have a place that I could, it's huge. So I have the opportunity I could hold up to 200 people probably if I wanted to. So I had a venue that was relatively inexpensive, but I have access to all the stuff to do it in. And then depending on, how many people show up, it doesn't really matter. So one of my other questions was, when it comes to like expenses, because like, yeah, you can go out, you can go get a hotel convention room and rent that, but not, like you said, now you're putting out money. And and I guess one of my questions was, do people want so I hold it in my, in the auditorium at the church, would people rather pay the money and go to a place that's nice? Or would people like the idea of, hey, I'm paying money at least to travel there, but the venue's relatively inexpensive, the tournament's relatively inexpensive, and you're spending your money on, maybe spending the night, or, getting something to eat afterwards at a nice place. I don't know. It's hard to gauge because to see what people would like. Would people come to that? That's kind of what I'm wondering, trying to get a feel, because I think I could probably put something on relatively inexpensive, as far as venue, and then all you're really paying for is getting there, gas or however you get there, and then your hotel or whatever.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think probably I respect what you're trying to do, which is like budget out the whole thing, because it's the right approach, because someone's not going to drop 500 to go play Dust, or maybe they will, I don't know, but somebody needs to think about that. So I appreciate that. On the other hand, I think you need to I think what you need to do is focus in on the event ticket itself, right? Because if somebody sees that it's a $150 event ticket, I know you're not going to charge that, but my point is like, if somebody sees there's a $150 event ticket, they're going to say, screw it, I'm not even going to look into a plane ticket. If it's a $25 event ticket, or if it's, $35 with 2 beers included or something like that, I think most people are, I think most $25 to $30, I think, is a pretty reasonable event fee that people would pay it at an LGS, like on the high end, and knowing that they're not going to get much out of it. I honestly think that with the people left in Destiny, they're willing to pay a little more because they realize there's power in numbers, right? If you know that 60 people are going to show up to a tournament, you can charge 20. If you know only 8 are going to show up, you might have to charge 30. I mean, people get that. So I do think the Destiny community is willing to pay a little more. And if you can present that Destiny weekend, then maybe they're willing to pay even more. If a $50, WookieCon, the WookieCon ticket price is $60 or whatever, I think maybe they'll be on board with that. But I mean, it's kind of a hard question to ask because in a normal gaming thing, I mean, you know, when I think about Flesh and Blood, they had their big tournament in Las Vegas, and it was not at a convention. They basically made their own convention, which is kind of what you're trying to do. Now, it's totally different economies of scale, but they were charging about $100, but you'd get, you know, exclusive playmat and stuff like that. So if you back out the swag from it, it's probably about a $40 ticket. And people were willing to fly to Vegas for that. Now, again, it's different games and all that, but I think functionally, if you can get it in the $40 range, and it's something that people want to go do, I think you can hook them. I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to feel out. Like, what is because I'm pretty sure, like, if you were able to get something in a decent amount of people, like ARH would probably, you know, want to be involved, where you can, you know, and you can have, you know, you get the word out. But I mean, Rockford, we're a city of like 200,000. We got plenty of hotels. I mean, it's not like a destination place like Chicago, but, you know, I was thinking for a weekend, you come in, you know, like I didn't even think about what you said earlier about having like a night where you do draft. I mean, that's kind of cool. Or, you know, even if you just had a time to play casual, and then the next day you were able to, you know, do a tournament and then go out and hang out, and, you know, so yeah, I'm toying with the idea. It'd be fun to do something like this spring or this summer. You know, it'd be a lot of fun. I'd love to. I've never done one in person, so.
Yeah. Now, I mean, to be fair, you were, you know, kind of saying you're Rockford's small, but I mean, Schaumburg is where I believe Schaumburg, Illinois, is where Adepticon is, and like I don't think it's very big. I mean, it's, you know, a suburb of Chicago, so it's probably about the same size. But I mean, obviously, it's a convention in of itself, but it's primarily a miniatures convention. So I don't know. Do you think? I mean, I don't have the full story from them, and we can speculate because neither one of us knows, right? But I imagine probably just the sheer cost of the money they were going to have to lay on the line to get a room was probably the breaking point of why they weren't able to get this, I would assume, right? I mean,
yeah, I'd asked, but I hadn't heard back. And plus, when I started looking into it, I think you have to buy the Adepticon ticket to get into the convention, and then on top of that, it would be money on top of that to get into the tournament. And so that's what, you know, that was why I was like, you know, with these conventions like Adepticon, is there other stuff that goes on that people attend other than just like the Destiny tournament? You know, I've never been to one, so
I mean, sometimes, right? So like I know that like the Galactic qualifiers were exceedingly popular. I think they're, what do we call them now? Galactic whatever. GQs. They were the events where you'd go play 6 rounds. I mean, it's basically what ARH is doing now. I forget. I switch it in my head which was called which, but GQs would often be at, I think there were GQs at Adepticon in the past, or they'd be at like PAX or whatever. And yeah, it was like a $25 entry or something relatively affordable, but you still had to buy the $70 con ticket. So, and that's why I say, like, I think if you could keep it to $40 to $50, I still think that's pretty manageable as long as people feel like if they lose round 2, there's something else for them. You know what I mean? And I don't necessarily know what that would be, because like I don't necessarily want you to have to run 2 events or something at the same time, right? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get you.
But you are going to have people who show up and lose 2 rounds and then are, maybe they just go off in the corner and they play Destiny. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's just the way the community would run now. I mean, they're pretty self-sufficient, right, overall. So.
Yeah, I was even thinking, like, you know, I've got the computer and the stuff and stuff at the church, and you could even easily, I think, just like the guys on the centers do, they stream live. I was thinking, like, it'd be really cool if you had a Top Cut and you were able to stream like some of the games live and actually have it going on so people could watch as you're, you know, if it's just an in-person game. I don't know. I was kind of spitballing all kinds of stuff, you know, just to make, you know, what could we do that would make it cool, that if somebody came in and wanted to have a good time. And, you know, that the other thing I was wondering too is, and I know this can tend to be a little bit of a touchy subject, but, you know, like currently here in the Midwest, there's not I mean, like Illinois has some, you know, pandemic rules, but like I don't wear a mask anywhere. Nobody says anything to me. Like at the church, we don't have that. So I would love to hold an event where people can come and basically, if you want to wear a mask, if you want to, if there's certain things, guidelines you want to follow, you can follow them. If you don't have to, but it's pretty open. It isn't super strict. You're not going to get, shut down or anything like that. So, but I think that played a little bit into the Adepticon. They kind of hinted at the fact, somebody did, I was reading, they hinted at the fact that with COVID and stuff, I'm sure it's probably, if you're having a huge event, it could cause some problems. So, and I don't know how much that would play in how people feel about that. I know a lot of people feel a lot of different ways, and I would want people to come and feel comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just have to play it safe there and say whatever the local restrictions, because you're going to be planning 6 months out ahead of time, and I mean, who the hell knows? We'll be on Omicron, or no, we are on Omicron, whatever. Yeah, no, Omicron Z, right? So we'll be on Omicron.
Whatever comes after.
Yeah, we'll be on Omicron variant by. Or no, Omega. Sorry, there. We'll be on Omega variant by summertime, right? But no, so I think that's just what you say is like, masks required as per state and local regulations, and then it's not on you. Right. And then if somebody wants to wear a mask, I mean, there's no law that says you can't wear a mask. So, right. I mean, I think that's probably the right way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know when we go visit my wife's, my in-laws in Wisconsin, like nobody wears masks there, right? Like right now. So it's state, local. It's just how people feel. But I mean, you'll have had people who flew in too, or maybe you won't. But I mean, in theory, if you've had people who fly in, I guess that might change the scenario a little bit too. I do know that PAX Unplugged, I saw they're requiring vaccination cards to get in. Plus, they're still requiring everybody to wear a mask, and that seems a little extreme to me because one was supposed to fix the other. But it's just whatever level of safety. But again, I think if you just default to local state laws or local ordinances or whatever, then that's probably the way to go, I would think.
Yeah, and that's probably what I would do. You just don't want people to come and feel uncomfortable or feel like either side. Depending on whatever side you fall on, you don't want people to feel like they have to do one or the other, or they feel. I don't want people to feel unsafe, So, but yeah, it would definitely be. It'd definitely pretty fun if we could get quite a few people to come in. I mean, we got some pretty nice places to go hang out too afterwards. I was even thinking like one of the local breweries even they do like weddings and stuff there too. So you could even rent out one of their rooms in the evening, and if you wanted to, play casually and have some food, and they have great beer there. So.
But then that rental's on you. That's what I was talking about earlier. The price of that's got to come from somewhere. So like, do you do it as an add-on with the ticket, and all of a sudden you're boned because only 5 people bought the add-on, or you know what I mean? Like,
so totally.
That stuff's tough, and that's been. I mean, we've talked casually about Commando Con and stuff in the past, and that's one of the issues I run up against. Is like, hey, I can make a whole weekend schedule full of events. It'll be freaking awesome, but it's going to cost you $250, and who wants to pay that, right? So. It's the same type of idea. Because like you could have open bar and whatever stuff. It's just how much all of a sudden it's a $300 ticket, right?
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see. I'm interested to see like what type of feedback we do get on some of this, because I'd be willing to, throw some time at it and put it together and host something like that. I mean, I can't imagine it'd be that hard. And I wouldn't think it'd be It'd be great if you had a ton of people show up, but I wouldn't think it'd be a ton of people. But, whatever you can do to entice people to come in, like, hey, like I've been trying to toy, like it's 6 hours to St. Louis, and I'm like, do I want to drive 6 hours to St. Louis? So, it's a little bit of a drive. Me and the boys would go down and do it. It would be fun to do.
Well, if it's the 3 of you, like, and that's the thing, like if you were going on your own to play, maybe it wouldn't be as fun, but you're going down there with the boys. So like maybe that's the way to do this, right? Is look at the attendance that happens in January, because it's like the 22nd, I think, of January or something like that. So look at the attendance on that, and then basically gauge. Maybe I think that's probably the way to go, is look at the attendance, because that'll be the first event that's happened in the States since covert missions dropped, right? So that'll, I think, give you an idea, because and it is relatively the same geography, like relatively.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's definitely it's Midwest. So
Yeah, I mean,
I would assume.
miniature market will probably get some of the Tulsa crew to come up, maybe. So who probably wouldn't come up to you, but I would think that you'll also pull people from up there because, like, I know there's a pretty good crew in Chicago area who would probably come to you. So
Yeah. Well, if there's people in Chicago, I don't know about them currently. I mean, I know there's like one or two people that I've talked to or played with that live in there. But I mean, if there was, I mean, we're like an hour from. I mean, well, if you go downtown, it's like 2 hours. But we're from all the suburbs where most people live. I mean, we're only like an hour from that. So, because I would go to anything in Chicago in a heartbeat if it was in the suburbs, you know.
yeah, well, we have several DC team guys that are in Chicago.
Really?
Yeah, and or thereabouts. And then, like, isn't 86 and Pauly, like, aren't those guys from the Midwest-ish somewhere?
I think so.
There? Yeah.
I think the 86 is up in Minnesota.
Yeah,
somewhere.
that's what I was thinking too. But he might have moved. Either way. But yeah, you've got people there, and then you've got I don't know if they're playing anymore, but there was a podcast Wolf Pack or something like that. They were out of the Loth Wolf something or other. They were out of Chicago as well, like a Chicago suburb. So they might come out and roll some dice. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. I apologize, guys. The name's escaping me right now, but no offense. I used to watch your stuff. I just don't remember it in the moment. Loth Wolf Pack, I think, something like that. But they're up there, so never know. You never know.
Yeah. It would be. I think I might. You know, if we get some good feedback, I think I might do something later this spring or this summer. Because, I mean, to be honest, I can probably have the venue for free. I haven't asked yet, but I pretty much use it whenever I want anyway. So it would be pretty cool, and it's a pretty big venue and it's pretty nice. So you know, it just isn't. You know, obviously you're not gonna be able to have alcohol while you're playing there, but you know, and it's not a you know, a game store, so you're not gonna have all the you know, games and stuff around that you can buy in the. But I'm sure you could probably come up with some stuff. You know, you get some stuff from ARH or whatever. You know, maybe you can sell some stuff, especially if they got the 2-player set come out. It'd be cool to have some of that available for people to buy if they came up. You know, I mean, that would be some of the stuff that would be kind of cool just to have it on hand.
Sure.
You know, so I don't know. I'm spitballing. You know, we'll see what.
Have you? I mean, ARH doesn't seem to. And I don't know how this flies with local laws and all that stuff because I've never really understood anyway. But ARH seems pretty on board with giving out cash prizes. So, like, maybe that's something they want to. I'm not saying you do that because that would drive your cost up immensely. But like, maybe ARH wants to cost. I mean, I don't know if what their vision is of these regionals and stuff like that. But they seem pretty pro cash prize. So, like, maybe that would help.
Yeah.
I still don't understand how that gets around gambling laws. I still don't understand that overall. But, I mean, it's no different than running an office pool for fantasy football and stuff, which nobody seems to care about. So, I mean, I don't, it works for me. So, I don't know. I'm just spitballing too. Like, you know, if there was a $100 cash prize for first place or something, I don't know. But,
yeah, I don't know how much that, you know, I don't know if that draws people, you know, maybe that draws competitive players, but yeah, that would be awesome. I mean, anything like that would be really cool. So, yeah, I was trying to think if there was anything else that I was, you know, was wondering because you know, in the past I've done a couple of conferences myself already that are like over 1,000 people. So this would be, I mean, this wouldn't be that big of a deal if you're doing it for 100 or less, you know. So yeah, it'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think it'd be neat. I mean, you could consider. Do you guys play any other games?
No, not currently. Okay. I mean, we play board games, but nothing like this.
I mean, just, you know, trying to combine it and make your own con weekend or something like that might. I don't know.
I mean, not opposed to that either. I don't know what else you would pair up with it, but I know we got a bunch of people that play Fab here. I've never seen it and never played it.
Yeah,
I don't know what
I don't think Fab and Destiny, except for the Commando people, I don't know that those play nice together. They're very different. They're very different mindsets of, kick you in the face and revel in your horribleness is kind of the Fab thing, and Destiny seems to be a lot more friendly. But just from a tournament perspective, and honestly, I don't want you as a person I care about, I don't want you to have to deal with Fab players who are angry because of some ruling, right? So that seems not fun. But
well, that's the other. I guess that's another thing too. Is somebody would have to come and be a judge, right? You have judges at these. I don't know who does that.
I mean, I don't know that you did. The regional that Sean Aguilar used to run in Portland, he did a great job. They rented out like an old school venue, and they used to have Gandork, because Gandork's from Boise, or at least he used to be. So Gandork would fly in and he'd kind of TO it. And I think they probably paid for his ticket, or I don't know exactly how it worked, but he was also part of the artificery crew. I don't necessarily think you need to fly in a judge or something like that, right? I mean, I think, I don't know, maybe this is just me hoping, but I think that the majority of the Destiny community can pretty much self-police these days for the most part. I mean, the number of judge calls I have during a tournament is pretty low. I think I only had one. The ARH one that I did 2 weeks ago, I only had one judge call a week. So, and it was 9 or 10 people. Yeah, it was the one you played in. The one you played in. Yeah. I think we only had one judge call the whole weekend, or the whole tournament. So, I think people are pretty good on it. But
yeah, and I'm sure. I mean, if you do draw more people than just if you get quite a few people there, I'm sure there's going to be some pretty good players there that know the stuff.
Yeah, but and then again, if you're talking cash prize, maybe people start playing the
well,
angles.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, but that would be something though that you could honestly play by ear, right? I mean, if you put it out there and you're expecting 20, and then all of a sudden, a month ahead, you've got 34 people registered. You could always call an audible and just be like, hey, I need help. And then, maybe you help somebody, not buy their ticket, but maybe they get put up in a hotel room or I don't know, something, right? Just try and make it a little better. So, I mean, it's always an option, but I don't know. I mean, I'm always a conservative person, and my gut says play it slim when you're planning, right? Plan thin so you don't eat a bunch of cost, but.
Yeah, because you never know.
Right.
But I think it's what you said is a good idea to see what happens in January in St. Louis, and go from there. I think that's probably because if they get a decent amount of people, then we know that we, at least in the Midwest, we would have a decent amount of people that would want to maybe come to one, and we could, if you have something at least quarterly, maybe people would want to come from out of town. I was, and basically what I was thinking is if you could make it fairly inexpensive, it would probably, because I was even balking at, some of the prices to go to the one that was going to be in Chicago. But if you could make it fairly inexpensive, people might be more willing to give up a weekend to come do it.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of funny, right? Because the cost will only matter to your locals. They're going to be like, oh, I'm not going to go. I would have played for 20, but I'm not going to play for 50. But if somebody's going to fly across, if somebody's going to drop $300 to fly across the country, they don't care if it's 20 or 50. Right. So it's kind of funny how that, and that's why I'm saying is I don't think you having a $40 versus a $50 ticket is going to make or break your event. A $30 versus an $80 ticket will, because then somebody won't even look at it. So I think as long as you're in that 40-ish plus or minus price point, I think that's probably the right way to go. But again, if you're getting the venue for free and you don't need the cash, then there's no reason to do it. I mean, theoretically, if you're willing to volunteer your time and stuff, you could in theory do it for free. Now, I wouldn't do it for free. You always want to charge some sort of skin in the game, just so 90 people don't show up or 90 people sign up and then 5 show up, right? But,
right.
But yeah, I mean, if you're doing all the volunteer, you get it for free. I mean, in theory, you could do it for blood, sweat, and $20, right? I mean.
So for some of the other venues that you've been to, what do they have there as far as do they do food and drink? Do they have I mean, do they have like snacks or what? How does it typically play out?
Yeah, it's gone all ways. So the one that Sean Aguilar used to run in Portland, we'd get lunch with it. So and it was more expensive. I think it was like I want to say like $35 or something, like pretty reasonable. And you got like 2 pieces of pizza and a drink, and then there was a bar in back that you could buy beer from. The one I went to in outside Seattle, I want to say was like 20 or $25, which is pretty reasonable. But you were on their own, and they had a cafe, right? So.
Yeah.
I mean, you could, I think, pretty reasonably, and that's why I was thinking kind of in that $40 range, is I think you could pretty reasonably cater, sandwiches and by cater, I don't mean have it catered, but like, go to Kroger or whatever, and, or whatever
Yep.
whatever your local non-branded Kroger is, and, get sandwiches and bring them in, and, probably everybody'd be happy.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I have where we have, I mean, because we're in an old school, I've got a full kitchen at my disposal. I have what we call it a cafe, but basically it's a really nice room set up with a bunch of tables that we typically will have food and drink, and it's a nice place to go hang out. So I mean, what's nice is it's all built in, and so I could do something like that. Like you said, if you charge $40, and then you can have, I mean, you could do pizza, you could do sandwiches. There's a lot of different things you could do, but then people could hang out, I mean, even if people want to bring their own stuff, you can do that too, but and then you could have water or coffee or so I mean, yeah, I was thinking it could be pretty nice, but since I've never been at one, yeah, I just, that's why I was asking, because you don't want to put it on and then everybody's like, this is the lamest thing ever.
Right. Well, I mean, as a TO or as an event organizer, one of the advantages you have in your pocket is that people are willing to overpay for the food. And what I mean by that is, like, let's say $30 is what you wanted for your event fee. You could, in theory, charge $45 knowing that they were going to get a free lunch that costs you $4, right? Like, so in the case of pizza, people would be willing to pay an extra $10, let's say, on their ticket because they know they get lunch, and that lunch realistically costs you $3 to $4, which helps buffer, right? And again, let's be clear to people watching. I know it's not that you're trying to make a profit, but it allows you to buffer your other expenses, right?
Yeah.
So, the lunch thing, I think, is probably especially if you think you're going to get into the 5-6 round range. I think it's probably the way to go. And then, I mean, just have Domino's, because what's a Domino's pizza? $20, and that's 8 slices, so that's $5 a person in theory, right?
Yeah.
So, ish, and then I'm sure there's coupons and stuff. So yeah, you've got $5 a person, and then you have to worry about bringing in some 2 liters of Coke or whatever, and paper plates, right, or whatever. So, I think you add, a $45, $50 ticket, knowing you get lunch, I don't think's the end of the world.
Yeah. Because I mean, I would consider doing that. If that, I mean, I think going to Adepticon, I think it would have easily been a $500-$700 weekend, probably, with the hotel, and then the ticket to get to it, and then,
well, but that's for 3 of you, though, right?
But that's what I'm saying, for all 3. So,
I mean, realistically, I mean, if I, like, let's say this, right? Let's go with your full dream. If I knew I was going to go, I could drive 2 hours down to wherever. I could play Destiny, I'd get lunch, and then I'd get 2 beers at night at your bar. I'd probably pay $50 for that. Probably pay $60 for that, right? Being Destiny.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, I think that's, and then could you rent out your room for $20 a head? Probably. I don't know. Probably. And then everybody gets, because usually the way those room rentals work is that they don't actually charge you for the room. There's some sort of minimum, right?
Right. Yeah.
So you'd have to have, hand out drinks. There's a 2 drink. Everybody gets 2 drink tickets, and then, like, the guys are gonna, especially people who flew in, people are gonna drink more than that. So, and then that's where you need to buffer your cost if that's something you want to do. But I mean, that's probably the next step after, like we said, you see how many people show up, or you think you can get. So.
Yeah, and I'll have to look into some of that, because it would be fun if you were able to do have a tournament, and then in the evening, if you were able to rent a room at the brewery or whatever, and you can have food and have drinks, and and if it's not that expensive, and you're going to have 30 or 40 people come, that would definitely be a lot. I think it would be a lot of fun. So,
I think it would too. I mean, I'd be absolutely, like I said, I'd be absolutely on board. I'd pay for it. The question is, not everybody would. Maybe.
Right.
But again, if you're traveling for it, I think you certainly would.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you have to drive, see, that's the other thing. Like if you're traveling distance, you would because you're staying. If you're an hour and a half away, you might not because you want to get home by 9 o'clock. So it's.
Yeah. They just built a brand new hotel downtown on the river too, and I haven't even looked, but I believe they have like a rooftop bar down there too. It's supposed to be pretty fancy. So I haven't even looked down there, but I suppose it's got like a convention center and rooms and all kinds of stuff. So I'll have to check out some of that stuff too. But I think probably the way to go is to keep the expense. What I was thinking is like, if you do it and keep the expense down and people really enjoy it and you have a blast, then if you do it again, you can kind of up it a little bit or change or figure out, you start skinny. And then as you learn, you get a little bit better at it and you can figure out what people want or what are people looking for. If they come and have a blast one year or in the spring, maybe in the fall, you do it again and they'll enjoy, they know, hey, this was a lot of fun. Let's do it again.
Right.
So,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think, but that's always my predisposition, which is why I still work for a living, is I'm conservative. So I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I'd hate to see you get stuck with a huge bill for, I'd hate to see you get stuck with a $400 bar tab or something, or room rental or whatever. That's really my only thing. As far as the rest goes, it sounds like you're playing it pretty safe. So I think what you're planning seems like a good thing, right? So. And it seems pretty manageable because you don't have to rent a space for the event itself. So it really just becomes a question of how do we get people there, and I think that's where your head's at, right? So I think there's good. I think it's good.
Yeah, it struck me because I have everything. I've got all the tables, all the chairs. I've got the room. It would actually be perfect. So yeah, it would be a lot of fun. I was even man. And then if you could even get some of the streaming where you're streaming some of the games live while you're playing, and you're having it so people around the, wherever who couldn't make it, you can actually watch. Heck, I was watching the Echo Base one today at work because I was bored. It's kind of fun just to, to watch while they're playing. So
yeah, just remember, everybody watching at home's not playing in your tournament though. So
right. Oh, maybe blackout. We need a blackout.
That's right.
If you want to see it, you got to come.
That's right. 500-mile blackout. I like it. No, I think this was a good chat to have. I like where your head's at. I'll pledge whatever support I can get to get it off the ground. Yeah. All right. Any other questions before we kind of wrap it up and get out of here, or any other comments, things on your mind?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. That's what I was wondering is, just kind of pick your brain and see what some of these events are like, so that I'm hoping maybe I can do something end of the spring or early summer and, find a good spot and plan it and see how it goes. And we'll see what happens in January too with the guys in St. Louis. I mean, if they have a good turnout, I think it would probably bode well for doing something like this.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, so let's talk more on timing, because end of summer tends to be a very low dip part for gaming. Plus, you start running into some of the bigger cons, because isn't Gen Con, I think, usually early September? Is that right? And that's when they
would be
worlds. So
that would be information I need, because I don't know where any of those are at.
Yeah. That's a good chat then. I mean, go look at stuff like that, because PAX Unplugged and all stuff like that. That you don't want to compete with that, because these players do play other games, right? So,
yeah.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you reaching out. I think this was, so I know it's kind of an odd chat, everyone to have as a Commando cast, but maybe there are other people out there thinking about doing this or getting it off the ground, or at the very least, maybe we inspired somebody to start thinking about it. So I really appreciate you reaching out, Wook, and having the chat. So.
Yeah, hit me up in the, if you see me in a game or hit in Discord, anybody that's got some thoughts, hit me up and let me know what you think. And, let me know if you would come to something like that and what you would be looking for.
Yeah. Well, and actually you said you were in touch with the RH guys, right? I mean,
yeah,
they run surveys from time to time. He might be able to put you in sort of give you some rough demographic numbers or something like that. I don't know, just shooting from the hip, but.
Yeah, that's what that's actually, I had written them the other day, and we just haven't gotten around to having more of the conversation. But I think it was the 86 that ran that survey where everybody was at. And so I was going to, see what kind of people are in the Midwest, because I think there's quite a few.
Yeah. No, I do believe that the Midwest is the more higher active player population of Destiny overall. Although I know there's quite a few in the South, but by South I mean like Alabama, and honestly, that's not that far away. It's not in the grand scheme of the country. So, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, cool. I think that'll do it for tonight. Because we've been talking for, I don't know, a while, but you know what? That's all good. It's all good. So I appreciate you coming on and giving me the chance to record this while we chatted. And if nothing else, I want to thank you again. And say it with me, man. Go Commando.
Go Commando.